Hello everybody, welcome back to the MVP 05 Washington Nationals Series. We are here, back in DC, back in RFK Stadium. RFK Jr.? No, not RFK Jr. yet. He's running for president currently. It's in RFK Stadium, which we are still in because the Nationals Park never gets built in this since it's their first year and they wouldn't play in there until their second season. But we're here in our first game, our home opener, our first series of the season against the LA Dodgers. Rough for the Dodgers having to travel all the way across the country just to play these lowly Nationals here. But we have Christian Guzman in an 0-1 count with one out already away, and Guzman chops one that was kind of jammed in the inside zone there, but that one bloops down safely into center field, so we're going to load a man aboard here in the third inning. So that is going to bring up Jose Guillen, who already has a walk in this game here, going to try and advance the runner here, and that pitch is going to miss inside for ball number one. So on the next pitch, Christian Guzman doesn't need Jose Guillen's help to move the bases here as he steals a second completely on his own, as he just snags a few 90 feet here from the Dodgers. And remember, Endy Chavez was a huge bag stealer last year, so if we can get some of that production somewhere else in the lineup, that'd be amazing. And Christian Guzman thinks he's going to get 2 bags, and he swipes 2 bags on the base paths, causing absolute chaos. I didn't think Christian Guzman had the juice like that in order to steal. I knew he was fast, but I didn't think he could swipe 2 bags back to back. It's like Ellie de la Cruz out there. So Jose Guillen finally does line one up the middle. That's not going to get through. But the Dodgers are going to try and go home to get Guzman, who doesn't even go. He doesn't even threaten to go home. You'd think that would have just been a routine throw to first to get the out there, but no. So the Dodgers are going to have runners in the corners with Endy Chavez, who's already 0 for 1 on the day, up at the plate with just 1 away. So Chavez swings at this one low in the zone, and that one's going to get chopped right out into left field, and Christian Guzman is going to safely get home, and we're going to take a 1-0 lead over the Dodgers here in our home opener. And that's going to bring up Vinny Castilla, the big power hitter from last year, regressed quite a bit from spring training here, but he is still getting on base as he chops this one up the middle, lasers it through, and that is going to send both lead runners. They're going to take 2 bags, one of those bags being the home plate, and so now we are taking a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers with Jose Vidro. Some more power in our lineup, stepping up to bat in a 3-1 count, and that changeup is going to miss inside, and that is going to be a walk for Jose Vidro. So the bases are going to be loaded for Mr. Matt Holliday, one of our big free agent acquisitions, and his son just hit a grand slam for his first home run. I think was a grand slam, and so Matt Holliday is showing us exactly where that power comes from, as he's going to clear the bases with this double that gets into the gap. Excuse me, Matt Holliday's threatening for 3, and he gets a 3, so it's a triple. Matt Holliday gets a triple to absolutely empty the bases here in this game, and the lead has been completely busted wide open. The Dodgers have a meeting. It doesn't seem to do a whole lot for them, but later on in the game here, Matt Holliday once again in the bottom of the 5th, his first game as a National, and he is making a name for himself as he sends this one down the right field line, and that is going to bring home another run. It's another RBI for Matt Holliday, and it's another extra base hit for Matt Holliday. So just, I mean, the offense is cooking, and it's mainly because of that man right there, Matt Holliday. So later on in the bottom of the 6th, Jose Guillen's going to get in on the fun and laser a ball out to left field, to right field, excuse me, and that one absolutely, I mean, dude, that was freaking peppered. I'd love to see the exit velo on that, and the tag to second is it's a little sketchy here, but he is definitely more than safe in. It was a good, smart heads-up slide by Guillen as he knocks home another run. So 7-0 here, and the Dodgers are going to try and get some offense rolling as they have bases loaded in the 9th. In case you weren't unaware, I mean, I didn't say it, but Casey Fossum, one of our free agent pitchers, has been pitching a complete game up to this point. He finds himself in a bit of a jam here in the 9th inning and finally gives up some runs here to this Dodgers offense, which, you know, not what it is today, but certainly still a productive offensive unit in LA. So but Casey Fossum gets all the way into the 9th and silences the Dodgers for about 8 1/3 or 2/3 innings. But finally, we're going to have to go to the bullpen, and we are going to go to one of our other big free agent signings here, who's going to try and close this game. He was signed specifically to be this high leverage, closer type role here, and he just needs to record the one out. And on one pitch, that one is laser to Guzman, who gets that one to first base to record the out, and that is going to do it for our home opener here in DC as we absolutely stun the Dodgers, man. Just pour on the runs here. The offense is absolutely rolling and cooking. You can't be mad about any of that kind of production, man. It is absolutely amazing. If we can only keep this momentum going through the rest of the season, boy oh boy. But we are going to get now back into the rest of the month of April. Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the Washington Nationals series in MVP Baseball 2005. So, we are finally here at the end of the month of April, the first month of the season, and you'll see, we're 500. And as pathetic as that might sound, that was actually the goal. About halfway through the month, I decided that that needs to be the goal, is to just remain 500, because we had a lot of months hovering around 500 back in 2005, and I realized that, you know, turn one of those months where we lost 2 or 3 more games, or April of last year, which was really bad, into a 500 month, and we'd easily be in that, you know, mid-70 range, which I'm trying to be at this year. So we need to be a little bit better than that, I think, just ultimately to hit our goals as GM. But you know, I think where we were last year at 69 wins, I think we're on a good pace if we can at least hover around 500. So we were a decent enough team last year to do it just through simming, and so by managing, I was able to keep us around 500. So talking about the issues now, now after, you know, you had watched the game, things seemed pretty great after that opening day game against the Dodgers. We actually looked really good against the Dodgers. We took 3 of 4 against them, but then the Padres came to town and they gave us a little bit more fit. So low-scoring affairs, and we kind of struggled against them in those low-scoring affairs, but we did manage to take the last game of that series before going on the road and beating the Pirates in Pittsburgh, and then kind of getting done in by the Phillies. Our game on Sunday was rained out, so we had to play a doubleheader, and we won the last game of the doubleheader, but the Phillies took 3 of 4 against us, which I expected because, you know, it's the Phillies, and they're pretty good at this time. So, and then we also lost a series to the Cubs, which was tough, and then we had to really fight to win that series against the Brewers, which is when I was kind of getting concerned, because I think the Brewers, rankings-wise, are like the worst team in the game. So, like, you know, struggling that bad against the Brew Crew is probably not a good look. And then we split this 2-game series with the Rockies. The second game was an absolute fight just to win. And then we started off this 3-game set here in San Francisco against the Giants. They absolutely undid us in the first game. And then the second game, that score was 6-1, I think, after like the 4th inning. And we somehow managed to win 12-6. So, there's a few topics of discussion after 1 month of play, so the big points, I will get to them. I'll try to keep track of them as I go through and manage these games, because, you know, I can't really look up any of these stats anywhere. They don't really have them, you know, the more advanced stats that we're used to now in the modern day. But the biggest issues for the team, number one, is RISP. If there are men on base, forget about it. There's no way they're getting home. That was a consistent issue that we had this entire month, man. There's just no clutch bats in this lineup whatsoever, man. I mean, bases loaded, guys on first and second, guys on second and third, does not matter. If there's people on base, we are a pretty horrendous team in that regard. And there's just absolutely no clutch hitting to speak of in our lineup. The second issue, in addition to that, is really the offense in general. I mean, we won 12 games, and some of these scores you can see, you know, it's a little back and forth, but a lot of our losses, man, are very low-scoring affairs, man. We really struggled to put up runs consistently. It was either, you know, we turned into a team that was like, everything needs to go right on the same exact day, or we lose. So it was like, you know, it's like, so pitching needs to be halfway decent, the bats need to be rolling, or else we're just going to lose the game, you know what I mean? Which, it sounds obvious, right? That's everything, but, like, paying attention to the games that we won in the Dodgers series here, you know? So, like, game 1, obviously, pitching was lights out, and then in game 2, pitching was a little bit suspect, but our offense was rolling still, so it was fine, and then in game 3, our offense wasn't that potent, but we were able to pitch pretty decently. So, you know, timely hitting and timely pitching is going to contribute to a lot of our victories, and if we didn't have any one of those factors going for us, we lost the game. So, you know, there were a lot of games where pitching didn't have it, and our offense just could not show up. There were a lot of games where, you know, maybe, I mean, there's not really a ton of examples where our offense kind of came in clutch for us and we just couldn't pitch. Like, all of our losses, our offense completely just vanished. So, as you could see, you can expect for about half of the month, moving ahead, the offense just isn't going to show up. And the second half of our lineup, really, the big reason for that is the second half of our lineup is really bad. It's gotten pretty bad, to the point where I'm not really sure where some of the production at certain positions is even going to come from. third base specifically, and then our middle infield. Our middle infield is really bad, and then third base has gotten pretty rough as well. So, and then we're not getting consistent hitting from the outfield anymore either. So it's pretty rough, man. It's pretty rough. And then the other big thing, I guess, we'll touch on something in pitching. CC Sabathia, yeah, just no. Absolutely not. Just no. He's been horrendous in many different ways. I've struggled to get him past 3 or 4 innings consistently. He's been very bad. So, you know, already not looking that great. Some of our other free agent signings have been better, like Fossum has been okay, and then our closer that we signed, he started off the month very bad, so I kind of stopped using him in the closer role, and I kind of put him in like a setup role, you know, and kind of got him back into more high leverage situations towards the end of the month, and he was doing fine. He got his ERA way back down, but things were pretty rough. So we're going to go through the stats now, and you guys can see the roster fully, you know, the full-fledged roster now. Looking at our order, so let's go to our regular righty lineup that we use all the time. So Andy Chavez is doing Andy Chavez things. He's hitting 324, slugging over 500. Man, it's great. He's also swiped 17 bags. He's swiped 17 bags. So yeah, dude, he's a fiend. He's one of my favorite players on this team right now. I absolutely love Andy Chavez. And he's only hit 3 home runs, so he doesn't hit for a ton of power, which is the other thing I didn't touch on either. This team is not hitting for power at all. There's no power. I think there was maybe a 2-week stretch where no one hit a home run. It's bad, man. We are not hitting for power at all. Matt Holliday has done pretty well hitting for average, but there's not really too much to speak about in the OBP or slugging department, and he's not hitting deep balls like you can see. So you know, he's hitting decently, but he's not really giving us much more than that, so that's a concern I have. Jose Vidro is having a good season, sneakily good season. Again, not hitting for power, but he is, you know, getting a fair amount of extra base hits, you know, as the 470 implies, but hitting 349, we will take that. Ivan Vukarina in his first month in the majors. It started off pretty well. I think he was hitting over 300 towards the middle of the month, but that has since dipped down quite a bit. He's hitting 229 now, and the OBP is really bad, so he's not seeing the ball really well at all. As you guys saw in the first Dodgers game, unless I might have edited it out, he had an out-bat, dude, where he got in a full count and was just swinging at pitches way outside the zone, so he's got pretty bad plate discipline. I'm not sure how long he'll stick. I don't know if he will at all, but we have options at first base. Matt Holliday can play first, and Will Cordero can hold down first as well, so if Carino needs to go back down to New Orleans, he can. I really hope that's not in his future, but, you know, an OPS under 700 is also not okay, so he needs to hit a lot better. Wes King has done decently well. This is a small sample size, so take these numbers with a grain of salt. He's hit decently well in a couple of games and then been absolutely absent in other games. I've had to start him pretty consistently because we will get to the why. we will get to the why. Jose Guillen was having an absolutely horrible month until I moved him down to the bottom of the lineup. He was hitting, I think, 204, and then I moved him down to the bottom of the lineup. And now he's back to 272 with 457 slug and 4 home runs. So that's more the production I need from Jose Guillen. I'll probably keep him down towards the bottom of the lineup for the time being until I need to make that change. But yeah, I definitely needed to make changes to the lineup during the month because it just whatever construction of the lineup I had just wasn't producing runs consistently, so you know, time to do whatever I can. Vinny Castillo is another person I had to move to the bottom of the lineup. Normally he bats cleanup for us because of how much power he provided to the lineup last year, but this year it's not there. He's hit a single home run, he's not slugging well, and he's not getting on base, so he's doing really bad. He's hit better towards the back half of the month, but his numbers are still bad, so that might be something we need to look at because he's making the most money on the team. He's 38 or 39 years old now, and you know, it might not be something that we can justify to keep playing consistently. So I as you'll see on the bench, I've brought up a third baseman to try and correct that issue because I don't know where the production is going to come from at third if it's not him. So. And then Brian Schneider is having a great start to his season as well. He's hitting 304 with a 411 slug. Still hasn't hit the long ball, but he's getting on base at a pretty decent clip, and he's slugging decently. So he wasn't really a problem for us last year, and he's continuing to not be a problem this year. So Will Cordero I have not used, I don't think, at all so far this season. He's just kind of rode the bench. And then this is why Wes King has been called up and been starting at short, because Christian Guzman is having a horrible season. He is hitting very, very poorly. He's not getting on base, and his average is dipping lower and lower. I think he was hitting like in the 210s or, you know, like below 210 before I moved him to the bench. I put him in a couple different games, you know, subbed him and Wes King in and out, yeah, he's hitting a little bit better towards the back half of the month, but still not great. So, and a lot of his stats got boosted after spring training, so I'm not really sure why he's taking such a dip in production. He was so good for us last year, so it's upsetting to see that he's fallen off quite a bit this year, but hopefully he'll get back into the everyday lineup in May. Terminal Sledge, again, we're just using strictly as a platoon. He had a very clutch walk-off home run for us in this month, which was nice, but outside of that, he hasn't really played much at all. You know, he's only got 4 hits. It's a very small sample size, so... Gary Bennett has not been so great in the backup catcher role, but he's a backup catcher. I don't expect a whole lot from him, so not going to focus on there. And then Brendan Harris is who I called up to kind of replace Vinny Castilla, or, you know, just kind of fill that spot every day. And he hasn't played much either. I think I've only played him in a few games, and he's been fine in those few games, but, you know, again, nothing really super consistent, not a big enough sample size to really talk about. And then I also brought up Henry Mateo, again, who I haven't played yet, because he can play utility, and Jose Vidro is getting pretty washed, and there's no one on the bench that can play second, so... That's why I called him up. So we're going to kind of use the middle infield's going to kind of going to be a committee role between Mateo, Guzman, Vidro, and Wes King. So that's where we're at, guys. That's where we're at with the offense, man. It's rough. It's pretty bad right now. But pitching is a little bit better. Here I said CC Sabathia has an ERA over 7 in his first month, man. He's just been awful. He's been really, really bad. He's not even really walking a lot of people. Just his stuff, man, I just think is way too hittable. I think he's just really kind of struggling. And you see his win-loss record is... His win-loss record, he only has recorded 1 loss, because like I said, I can't even get him to go past 3 or 4 innings in these games, man, before giving up like 5 or 6 runs. It's really bad. He's been awful. Tony Armas Jr. has also struggled a bit to start off. I didn't think he was doing this bad, but I guess I just wasn't paying too much attention, because, yeah, man, an ERA over 5, I didn't really realize. Casey Fossum, one of our free agent pickups, has been great. He's been really good for us. An ERA under 3, that's awesome. Hopefully he continues that. I would really hope to see him continue that trend. John Patterson has also not been great. Again, he was bad last year when we kept him up here, and he's been bad again, so we might be looking to replace at least 1 starter probably in the month of May, because yeah, some of these numbers are not going to hold. And then Sunwoo Kim started off the month very good, and then his second half of April was pretty bad. So he's been getting hit quite a bit. He's been getting hit early, like offenses have been getting to him early, and then he kind of settles in and kind of smooths out, you know, like throughout the course of his starts. But you know, he's still giving up a lot of contact and a lot of runs early on, so the starting rotation is kind of struggling here. So, but in the bullpen, Seth Griesinger has kind of been my go-to reliever, because he has the stamina to go like 3 or 4 innings if I need him to, which I've needed him to do a lot, because we have at least 2 or 3 starters who cannot get out of the 4th, you know, or 5th inning. And so he's been really good in that role, posting a low 2 ERA. The walks are pretty low compared to the strikeouts, so he's been one of my favorite relievers. Claudio Vargas has kind of struggled a lot too. I've put him in certain situations, and he's just absolutely imploded and lost us games even. So he's not been great. So. TJ Tucker has also struggled quite a bit. I've struggled to get him in consistently and to be a helpful piece of the bullpen. And then Jean Rauch, kind of back and forth. I think there was a point early on in the month where his numbers were a little bit better, but he's going to finish the month tiptoeing around a 5 ERA. So a lot of walks in our bullpen as well. We might need to bring up another reliever, maybe get some help here. But Luis Ayala, who I think was, or no, he wasn't. He wasn't our closer last year, Chad Cordero was, but he was one of our more higher leverage, I think, relievers that I tried to use, and he kind of became the de facto closer after Urbina wasn't working out, and he's got an ERA under 2, man. He's got a 3-0 record because he's winning games for us. He's absolutely locking down offenses, hasn't recorded a walk yet, which is so rare for this team's pitching staff, so he's been the best, probably pitcher on the team, period. Between him and Casey Fossum, you know, he's kind of been the best pitcher on the team, so to have at least 1 reliever and 1 starter, I guess, is a good thing. But yeah, these pitching numbers are a lot worse than I thought they would be. over the course of the first month, and then Urbina has gotten down to on his ERA under 4. I think it was 9 even, probably just 2.5 weeks ago, and it was still well over 4, you know, before like the last stretch of the month. And so I've gotten him down under a 4 ERA now, and he's kind of settled back in to that high leverage role. But yeah, so that's how the pitching side of things loads up. It's really not like a great team, dude, so it's kind of miraculous that we've been able to even get to 12-12. Because, yeah, I mean, we've really just kind of struggled throughout the month, man. And there's certain series where I know that it's just not going to go well for us. I figured this Giants series would be a little bit harder just because of how good the Giants offense is. But really, that Philly series was the only series where I was like, yeah, we're probably going to lose this straight up. And we did. They kind of ate our lunch. But this Cubs series was also just rough, man. I couldn't get nothing going on the pitching side of things. And then it got to the point where some of the games that we did win were just like, dude, what can I do to make this team any better? I have no idea. So with that being said, now we're going to look ahead to the month of May and get done with this video. We are still on this extensive road trip. We have the last game of this Giants series, which, I mean, it's still a part of April, so I guess I could play it for this month. I didn't realize. I thought it was the first day of May. But either way, so we'll just finish that series in the next video. Just pretend it's not there. Pretend it's not a real game. And then we go to Denver for a 3-game set against the Rockies, and then finish off our road trip in Milwaukee, which I might highlight a game from this series. I'm going to try and highlight more fun opponents in this one and not so much division opponents. I think I said that last season as well, but either way. So yeah, we might do this, have a fun little series in Milwaukee before coming home and taking on the Phillies and Cubs back-to-back again, just like we did last month. So this might be a pretty tough gauntlet of 6 games that we have to go through. And then we'll have the Diamondbacks and the Astros in D.C. before taking to the road again to play in AT&T Park again in San Francisco, and then going to San Diego to play the Padres, and then finishing off the series with the Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati. So, and now that 3rd game is on the first day of June. So these we will just cover the first 2 games of this series in the next video as well. So, but that is how May is going to look. And then before I get out of here, let's look around the league and look at the standings, because that's what we love to do. So in the NL East, in our very own division, we are not in last, which is great. The Marlins are off to a hot start there, 16-9, with the Phillies not far behind at 14-11. And then us, and I mean, really everyone's kind of in the mix here. We're not too far from the Phillies or the Braves, and the Mets aren't that far from us. So, you know, enjoy now the early season where we're all kind of together. There's a losing streak or winning streak that's going to separate all of these teams at some point in the season. So just enjoy this while it lasts. And then in the AL West, which was absolutely horrendous last year, if you remember, the Athletics are holding on with being 4 games over 500, just a couple games over the Mariners and Angels, and then the Rangers are off to a 10-14 start. In the AL Central, the Twins are off to a very hot start at 17-8. The Tigers, the defending World Series champs, are 12-11, with the Indians just a game behind them, and then the Royals and White Sox are off to very slow starts. In the AL East, the Orioles have jumped out to a very hot start. I think they were one of the worst teams, maybe not in the league, but they were one of the worst teams in the AL East last year, and they are off to a very hot start this year, with the Red Sox and Yankees behind them, both similar records. And then the Blue Jays are on a 5-game losing skid. They were 10-10 at one point, but they're on a 5-game losing skid. And then the Devil Rays are once again awful. They were bad last year. I think they were the worst team in baseball last year. And then in the NL West, the Padres and Rockies are fighting for first right now. The Rockies just a half game behind, and then the Diamondbacks are a few games behind them, with the Giants also kind of struggling, and the Dodgers off to a pretty bad start as well. Remember, the Dodgers and Padres pretty much fought over the NL West all season last year, so interesting to see that. And then in the loaded NL Central, the Cardinals are off to a 15-10 start. The Cubs are on a 4-game win streak to throw their hat into the race, and then the Reds are not far behind either, with the Pirates and Astros also sitting around that 11 mark, and then the Brewers are only 10-13, so the Brewers aren't that bad. There really isn't a team right now in the league that's like really, really bad. Most teams are around the 10-game win mark at least, so you have a few 9 winners like the Devil Rays and Dodgers and Giants. But outside of that, everyone has hit the double-digit mark, and we are not the objective worst team in the league. So that's something to be happy about. So when we come back in the next month here in the May video, we're probably going to be in Milwaukee, like I said. So just prepare for that, and you know, hopefully the team plays a little bit better on offense. We pitch a little bit better. Maybe I'll manage a little bit better, pay more attention to the lineups left and right and whatnot. So I just kind of rely on the skill and the talent of the players that I know we have, and it doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to have to get a little bit sharper. But hope to see you guys in the next video where we cover May of 2006.